The third Republican presidential debate is just 2 hours away, and we've narrowed the field down to 6. And 5 of them are here tonight. Yeah, that's right. Trump's got a rally going on somewhere else, but the debate is on. DeSantis, Haley, Scott, Christie, and Ramaswamy are about to take the stage right behind us. It's a special live primetime episode of Larry, and it begins right now. Behind me is the Adrian Arch Performing Arts Center here in Miami, Florida, and in just 2 hours, the candidates will take the stage. This is a special debate for primetime network television. You know, up until now, the debates have been on Fox News Channel and Fox Business Channel, cable outlets. This is going to be on NBC Network, and it's co-hosted by Salem Media Group, which is the parent company of Town Hall. And we're streaming live right now for a special 1-hour pre-debate special across all the Town Hall media websites, Town Hall, Hot Air, PJ Media, the mighty Red State, Twitchy, and of course, Bearing Arms. And we're also across all the Town Hall media, social media platforms as well. For the next hour, we're going to analyze the debate that's about to happen. We're going to talk to representatives from some of the campaigns and also some of the shining stars from the Town Hall media universe, including Stephen Green, you know him better as Vodka Pundit, Jennifer Van Laar from Red State, and Spencer Brown from Town Hall. Did I not say that Vodka Pundit was at PJ Media? Well, that's a given, isn't it? Everybody knows Vodka Pundit's from PJ Media. So buckle up. Go ahead and share this video across all your social media platforms so that they can get ready for this debate. And I know some of you might decide to watch the Trump rally. Well, all right, then let this be your debate discussion before the rally, right? Absolutely right. The topics tonight are going to be spectacularly chosen by Salem Media's own Hugh Hewitt. And apparently he'll be joined on stage by a couple of representatives from NBC News. But really, this is Hugh Hewitt's debate to moderate. We're really excited about that because he's our pal. Longtime Salem radio icon, Hugh Hewitt. And this is his first time co-moderating a network debate. So we're all thrilled for his participation. It's nice to know that there will be a conservative in the room, not just in the room on the stage moderating this debate, but also in the room for all of the debate prep that they've had. I assure you that Hugh Hewitt brought up various topics and various perspectives and various ways of looking at American politics that most of the people from the network probably don't always consider. And that's critically important, as we've seen in past debates, right? Yeah. So we're looking forward to seeing our pal Hugh up on the stage handling himself along with Lester Holt and Kristen Welker. Now, what will the main topics be tonight? Well, I guess it's probably fair to say that since this is the first debate since the horrendous terror attacks in Israel on October 7th, national security is going to rise to the top of the discussion. Now, they're not going to ignore the economy and the Bidenomics and inflation that's crippling this nation or the open border. But guess what? All of those things are linked. If we had energy independence, then we would have a better footing in the Middle East, wouldn't we? And we also wouldn't have enriched Vladimir Putin and the Russian military to plow across the Ukrainian border. The higher gas prices go internationally, the more it enriches those terrorist countries in the Middle East and Russia. And that's not good for the world, and it's not good for the American economy. So all of these things are going to be linked. Our open border, of course, also makes us susceptible to a national security threat, including terrorists coming across the border into our country. But make no mistake, national security will be the primary pivot point, I believe, tonight for all of those topics that we'll be discussing. And it'll be interesting also knowing that there are only 5 candidates on the stage, right? Because of that, they're going to have more time to talk. They're going to have more time to have exchanges with each other. And I think they're going to probably be able to be more even-handed with the time allotted to these candidates because they've only got 5. And I think that's going to be an interesting aspect for we the voters to be able to really hear more from these candidates instead of the first, memorized sound bites that they just come up with off the top of their head that didn't really come off the top of their head, that somebody wrote for them and they analyzed and they focus grouped and they practiced in front of a mirror 2,000 times before they showed up tonight. Yes, they'll get those talking points out probably in the first 10 minutes. Then things are going to get real. So it's going to be an interesting debate in that respect as well. So that's what we have in store for us as we're walking. Oh, by the way, I want to make sure that you know, as this 1 hour special primetime live stream occurs, we're going to be interacting with your comments as well. So go ahead and leave comments wherever you're watching us, whether you're watching us on YouTube or on Facebook or on X. Go ahead and comment away. We're going to interact and answer your questions as well. All right. So, like I said, we're going to be hearing from a couple of the campaigns, and also, well, let's bring in. Can we get Stephen Green over? Stephen Green, vodka pundit from PJ Media. Let's bring him over here and get his first take and analysis on what he expects to see. God knows Stephen Green has seen a lot of presidential campaigns in his career. I mean, we're talking. I think the first campaign he covered was Woodrow Wilson, if I remember right. Was it Woodrow Wilson or the other Woodrow?
It was a very slow-moving campaign. It was his re-election campaign, and he'd already suffered the stroke.
Oh,
so
there you go.
There wasn't a whole lot going on.
Well, then you're used to covering a presidential campaign that involves a semi-brain dead candidate.
Exactly.
So you're all set for Biden this time around.
I was set 4 years ago, even if he wasn't.
So welcome to Miami, by the way.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Nice weather, a little change of pace from Colorado.
A little bit. Every time I step outside with the humidity, I get another chance to look like Flo from Alice. So I'm getting used to that.
You have quite the bouffant going.
Yeah.
You know, afterwards, we're going to go to a karaoke bar and sing some B-52's hits.
That'll
going to
be fun.
Great. Yeah.
Fun. I do a wicked Fred Schneider, so I'm looking forward to that.
I was just saying that I think since this is the first debate since the October 7th attacks, that national security is going to take a prominent role here. Who do you think that helps? I mean, everyone thinks that's going to help Nikki Haley.
Well, she is the closest thing, I guess, we have to a hawk on the GOP stage tonight.
Now that Mike Pence is out.
Yeah, but I'm not really thinking about this in terms of debate prep or strategy or tactics. I'm thinking about this in terms of the tail of the tape.
Oh,
yeah.
You've got a boxing match.
Yeah, Chris Christie. He's a big guy.
Oh,
you know he can take a lot of hits, but
I don't know if he's got the reach, though.
Also, he's not in great shape. He's not going to make it more than 2 rounds, and I'm talking about Iowa and New Hampshire here.
All right.
And
he's definitely going to hold out for New Hampshire, though, right? That's his only chance.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, he's got to. You've got Governor Ron DeSantis, and he's scrappy. He's a fighter. He reminds me a little bit of Rocky. I don't think he's going to give up until he's
you use words like scrappy, and that just suggests that he's a diminutive character. And you know. Are you saying that he's shredded? Are you saying something?
The real scrappy fighter is probably Nikki Haley. You got to watch out for her.
Oh yeah, she fights dirty. Just ask Vivek Ramaswamy.
But she looks fabulous doing that.
In that case, though, I mean, think about it. Nikki Haley was calling out Vivek Ramaswamy's position on Israel 2 months ago.
That's right.
Before October 7th. I mean, this is a major moment for Vivek and Nikki to revisit that, don't you think?
That might be because it's the preeminent issue for the last month now. That might be the thing I'm looking forward to most in this debate. And it's not even a matter of, which one is this going to help in the polls or whatever. It's just a matter of the GOP needs to have this foreign policy debate.
Yeah.
And I think it starts right here tonight. And that's a good thing.
So I can tell we're going to interact with some of the comments that we're getting across all the town hall social media platforms right now. But I assure you, probably half of the comments right now are, who cares? We'll be watching the Trump rally. So
and that's fine too. Trump puts on a great show, but you know what? I'm here for the combat.
Yeah.
And you're not going to get that in a Trump one-on-one, as entertaining as those can be. I want to see some candidates really go at it tonight. And I think we're going to see that. Oh, Ramaswamy, though.
Oh, yeah. You didn't do your whole tail of the tape. I'm sorry.
Glass jaw.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So you think he takes one hit and he's down for the count? He has it has been one of those. It's like the Ben Carson effect. You remember where he shoots up and then just plummets down quickly, and that might be the thing. Although, like I said, this is opportunity to sort of redefine himself, especially when it comes to foreign policy in the Middle East. And now is the time. If he doesn't, then
that'll be interesting to watch. And then there's Tim Scott, who is just a great guy, but is not connecting. And I'm even talking about the punches on the stage.
So you're right. He's had some pretty tough debate performances. Yeah. He has. And I think that he's been over rehearsed. I think they should just let Tim Scott be Tim Scott.
That's from the 1984 debates, by the way, back when we were wee lads, 47 years old.
The 84 debates?
Yeah. Let Reagan be Reagan.
Oh, I don't remember that.
You don't remember that?
I'm sorry. I wasn't paying attention.
He's a youngin'.
I was watching, I'm sure, a Detroit Red Wings hockey game or something. Yeah. We're actually going to hear from the communications director for the Tim Scott campaign coming up here in about 15 minutes, and we'll ask him what the strategy is. But I think, and I'll mention this to Nate as well when we get him here, I think Tim Scott has an opportunity here because now that Mike Pence has withdrawn from the race, he's really the last family values, faith-based candidate who wears it on his sleeve. And there's always a lane in Iowa for that kind of candidate, isn't there?
There really is. Iowa voters are actually, what I love most about Iowa voters is they've got a tendency to surprise you.
Yeah.
And Trump's lead looks insurmountable, and it probably is, but is it going to be, are they going to surprise us by giving Trump an even bigger pump, or is it going to be a lot closer than anyone?
Right, like it's not as big a lead as we thought. And what they always, the old conventional wisdom, I mean, I know how much you love conventional wisdom over at Vodka Pundit. Not much at all. No. You get 3 people get their ticket punched out of Iowa. Oh, get your ticket punched out of Iowa. And there's always, one of those 3 is always the Rick Santorum or the Mike Huckabee or the Ted Cruz. It's somebody who really leads into Iowa with abortion, with faith, with values, with parents' rights, things like that. That's Tim Scott right now.
It is. And those voters might be really energized after what happened in Tuesday in various races, like in Ohio and Virginia and Kentucky, where abortion was a big ticket item, and Republicans didn't do so well.
Yeah. Well, in general, but for the primary, I still think you need to be pretty strong on that.
That's why they're going to be energized. Send a message.
All right. So what are you looking for? What do you think will surprise people tonight?
Oh, if I knew that, it wouldn't be much of a surprise. I'd have told everybody by now.
I guess that's fair. Are you going to be live blogging this?
Oh, absolutely. We've got our own little press room right inside the big theater, and I will be all set up with my laptop, my cocktails, and we'll see what happens.
You're drunk already, aren't you? Shh. Thank you, Steve.
Good to see you, Larry.
Vodka Pundit, PJ Media, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for being here. That's true. Actually, and let me give you a quick. Oh. We will give you a rundown exactly on what we're going to be doing at all the town hall sites, if I could. Number 1, we've got this live pre-debate show, of course. Then we're going to head straight across the street into our media center there. We've got our own separate setup where we'll be doing the live blog at townhall.com and across all of our sites. The live blog is going to be, what you expect from our live blogs on a nightly basis, whether it's a debate or whether it's a primary night. Our live blog is not to be missed. So make sure you've got a browser window open so you can watch our live blog as we go. And I think we might even be cutting in with some live video streams during the live blog from backstage at the debate. And then afterwards, we're going to be live from the spin room. Now, if you've never actually witnessed a spin room after a debate, it is remarkably chaotic and fantastic, actually. We're actually going to have our own camera set up roaming around the spin room. So you can see all the various campaign surrogates speaking on behalf of their candidate and assuring you that their guy or their gal just absolutely hands down won the debate. They're all going to say that, even if it's obviously a lie, because, well, that's the beauty of American politics. The truth doesn't matter. We're here to spin. That's why they call it the spin room. We're also going to be having Katie Pavlich conducting candidate interviews from our own special position right there in the spin room, too. So that's all coming up tonight for our exclusive coverage of the GOP debate in Miami. But first, I want to say a few words about our friends at Electronic Payments Coalition. You know by now, EPC is telling you that you need to educate yourself about the big box bill. This is a bill that's making its way through the Senate and the House right now. They're debating it. And the crux of it is they're trying to put an onerous new mandate for credit card routing on retail stores all across the board. They call it the big box bill or the big box bait and switch because the big box stores like Walmart and Costco, Target, and all the big guys, they can absorb all those costs. In fact, they get a big windfall from all of this, and you're going to pay for it, you, the consumer. Mom and pop companies, small entrepreneurs, they're not going to be able to put up with the onerous demands of these mandates, and the big guys benefit. We don't like that. Neither do you. And if you do like all those credit card rewards you get right now, well, say goodbye to those, because there's not going to be a way to maintain them with all the new mandates that Congress is putting on. So go get yourself educated. Find out for yourself at stopthebigboxbaitandswitch.com. Make sure you tell your congressman and your senator that you've had enough of this. We don't need the big government telling stores these new mandates on credit card transactions. That's stopthebigboxbaitandswitch.com. All right. We still got more well in store for us. And I do want to see some of your comments, actually. I'm interested in what's on your mind. So let me take a moment and interact if I could. And if you have any questions about what we're doing here and what the scene is like, I'd love to hear from you on that as well. Just loading up the comments right now, and then we'll take a quick look. All right.
What have we got here?
You want to take that off. Thank you. Florida loves Trump. Prayers for America. Thank you, Jody. And yeah, we see a lot. In fact, there's been some people driving around outside the debate theater with like big Trump flags hanging out of the car and honking their horns. There has been a recent debate. Anybody who thinks that Ron DeSantis has like a home court advantage at this debate, dude, poll just hit yesterday. Trump is beating DeSantis by like 30 points in Florida. It'll be interesting to see if DeSantis can carve something out for himself tonight. All right, what else have we got? How about Tammy Barnes here? We, the people, are tired of this administration and their BS. BS. Big salami? No. BS. Bucho Sanskrit. It'll come to me. But yeah, I think we, the people, are more than sick and tired of it. You're right. You're 100% right. And hopefully there's going to be a lot more discussion on this stage tonight about Biden, about this administration, about Bidenomics, about what the Democrats have done to this country, about how Democrats are leading the charge with pro-Palestinian, pro-Hamas marches on the streets. Coming off of yesterday's elections in Virginia and in other states, there's been a lot of navel gazing about, what went wrong? Why'd this happen? And I'll tell you, listen, I'm a radio talk show host in Washington, D.C. We covered the Virginia elections like no one else. I got to tell you something. The Democrats kept calling all the Republicans, MAGA extremists, Trump, MAGA extremists, Trump. The Republican candidates never hit back and tied the Democrats to Joe Biden. Joe Biden, say what you will about Trump, and maybe in Northern Virginia in the suburbs, calling somebody a MAGA extremist is politically effective because in some neighborhoods, Trump is not that popular, even with some Republicans. Okay, that's fine. But guess who's even less popular? Joe Biden. So why weren't those Republican candidates talking about Biden and tying the Democrat candidates to Joe Biden? People are hurting in this country. They hate what's going on right now. And it's Biden's fault. It's the Democrats' fault. So hopefully tonight, I know this is a Republican debate for Republican voters to determine their Republican candidate, but I hope those Republicans spend some time talking about Joe Biden. All right. David Parker, Christie is a joke. Well, yeah. Seriously, he's in the campaign for one reason and one reason only, because he hates Donald Trump. That's not a reason to run for president. And he'll tell you that. If Trump were running, he wouldn't be running. Well, that is kind of a joke, isn't it? All right, we're now joined by Nate Brand, the communications director for Senator Tim Scott and the Tim Scott campaign. Nate,
hey,
thanks
Larry,
for being here. Good
Yeah.
to see you. It's exciting. Debate night is exciting.
It is. Oh, it's been a lot of fun.
So what's the debate prep been like for Senator Scott, if you can say?
Well, he watched a little bit of WWE today to prep for the fireworks that come on debate night.
You think it's going to be that?
We'll see. I think NBC did a good job setting up a larger discussion. There are going to be 90-second answers, which is going to give folks a really good opportunity to talk beyond sound bites. And that's where Senator Scott's going to shine. He's going to be able to get deep on foreign policy and get deep on the issues that folks care about. And it's going to make for a good night.
We were just discussing the fact that now that Mike Pence is out of the race, it seems like Tim Scott is the only candidate there who is really leading on family values, faith-based issues. Everybody gives it lip service, but I get the impression from Senator Scott that it's in his DNA. He's not repeating memorized lines. This is who he is.
That's a smart observation.
Is this a strategy? Because Iowa, that's an important kind of strength to have.
Nearly 2/3 of Iowa caucus goers identify as evangelical. And when you're trying to go into churches and town halls and connect with them on a personal, spiritual level, Tim Scott's is about as good as they get. And to your point, like Mike Pence, a deep man of faith, he's done a lot for our country. And I think a lot of those voters who are looking for that kind of candidate are going to come Tim's way ultimately on caucus day in January. But it's one of those things too, where when you talk about the issues of abortion, you talk about the general decline, we're losing so much of our values. You're going to hear that tonight on the debate stage from Tim Scott. That is so central to who he is and our message.
There's been a lot of navel gazing today because of what happened in Ohio yesterday, what happened in Virginia. They think the mainstream media, conventional wisdom in DC thinks that abortion and faith-based family values issues are not winners. In fact, they're an albatross for Republicans.
Yeah. Well, what happens is when Republicans run away from these issues, we lose on them. When you're courageous and you're bold and you go on offense. When the radical left wants late-term abortion and abortions after 15 weeks even, that's when you start to like lose the American people. But you got to take that case into all these states and all these congressional districts, and that's where you win the battle of ideas. You change hearts and minds. You have to have a messenger who can also do that. And I truly believe, I'm the comms director, that Tim Scott is that messenger to take that battle into communities that often don't hear from Republicans.
Yeah.
And that, I think, is so important. He spoke at a church in South Side of Chicago just 2 weeks ago. Not a lot of Republicans run around South Side of Chicago. We're going to go wherever our message can work and resonate. There's going to be skeptics along the way, but when you've got common sense, conservative values, they start to play out, and people's like, I like more money in my pocket. My family is better off because of these policies. Yeah. That's when Republicans win elections.
How big does Israel loom tonight for the candidates, you think?
Issue number one.
Really?
It is.
Yeah.
I think across the debate, you'll see large discussions on this, but I think this is an opportunity for Senator Scott to really shine, because this is an issue that a lot of these earlier debates, a lot of domestic issues, which is great. There's like our borders out of control, the economy is the wrong direction.
Bidenomics is working, don't forget, Nate.
He keeps telling us that. I haven't felt it in my pocket yet. But the issue of Israel has given Senator Scott the chance to, and a platform to talk about foreign policy in a way that many people don't know Senator Scott for. When you hear Senator Scott, you think of his faith, you think education, you think the economy and tax cuts.
Great life stories, family upbringing, all that, which is phenomenal.
It's all great. But 2 days after the attack in Israel by Hamas, he went to the Hudson Institute, gave a fiery speech about what is at stake in this war. There's a moral clarity that is required when you're calling out evil. And it's not just calling out Hamas, calling out Iran, it's also calling the anti-Semites here in Congress, on our college campuses, those marching in our streets. The river to the sea, they want to keep redefining that. That is calling for genocide. And so you're going to see clarity from him on that stage. There's some on the Republican Party who are a little wish-washy on this at times, but we got to stand with our allies, with Israel, and make sure they have everything they need to wipe Hamas off the face of the earth.
One thing I've noticed about Senator Scott's past two debates is that he didn't spend a lot of time separating himself from President Trump, former President Trump, really talking about former President Trump that much. Yeah. Is that a strategy? Are you doing that on purpose? Will that change tonight?
Yeah. Well,
because ultimately you do have to give people
a
reason to vote for him instead of Trump.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. At the end of the day, though, the campaign is going to come down to who's best to win and beat Joe Biden. And Tim Scott's going to make that case. He's not running against Donald Trump. He's not running against Biden. He's running for the country. So first and foremost, that is where this thing is headed. I think the contrast you'll see with Donald Trump and him is that there's some folks that are playing the game of addition, some that play the game of subtraction. And that is where Tim Scott is ultimately trying to do. You build coalitions, you bring more people into the party. That is where I think ultimately, as folks look to Iowa, New Hampshire, and so on, and they're looking for a candidate that can ultimately beat Joe Biden, that's how you do it. Trump's numbers are good because Joe Biden's pretty weak, but any Republican at this point is going to beat Joe Biden. We got to make sure not only that we beat Joe Biden, but as we saw last night across the country, you got to bring everybody with you. You got to win those governor's races. You got to win the congressional districts. That takes a top of the ticket where you can persuade and bring people into the party and go to, like I was saying earlier, go to those places where the message resonates, the message works. You got to go everywhere and tell it.
All right. How is he? Have you seen him tonight?
I did.
Is he loose? Is he ready to go?
He's ready to go. He's fired up. He's got some worship music in his ears.
Nice.
He'll be backstage and he's wrapped
does everyone have like their own separate dressing room backstage?
They do.
Is that how it works? And they got their own.
So it's like a concert venue. So it's like the first chair of the symphony has their one room, and I can't remember what room we're in, but it's
interesting. Yeah. And you got the rider with all the green M&Ms taken out of the bowl and stuff like that, and everything.
No, we've got some Coke Zeros, some water bottles. Yeah, we got the essentials.
All right, excellent. We'll get back to your guy.
Yeah. Hey, I appreciate
Have fun
Larry.
tonight.
Yeah,
thanks for joining us. You bet. There you go. That's Nate Brand. He's the communications director for the Scott campaign, and he seems pretty confident tonight. And they definitely have their message going, and they're ready to go. So, I'm interested in hearing your reaction on Tim Scott specifically, and whether you think he still has a lane. I do think, I'll be honest with you, I really do think, I keep saying it, that faith-based, there's always a candidate that comes out of Iowa that's all about family values. Like I said, Santorum, Huckabee, go all the way back to Pat Robertson. That's Tim Scott now, if he can play his cards right. All right, joining us now, very excited about this, is Ken Cuccinelli on behalf of Ron DeSantis, although technically, come on over here, Mr. Cuccinelli.
Nice shoes.
Thank you. Oh yeah. Well, I don't know if everyone.
Yeah.
Hold on. You can
that's
see
a
my
tough
shoes.
one.
Hang on. I'm gonna go
Yeah,
all the way
there
back.
you go.
Can you see them?
That's sweet.
I got my
God
my
bless
star-spangled
America.
shoes. Former Attorney General of Virginia, former official in the Trump Homeland Security Department. Good to see you, Ken Cuccinelli. Now, you are the head of Never Back Down, which
Right.
is Super PAC, who is supporting Ron DeSantis, but you don't
Correct.
actually coordinate with their campaign.
Right. That's exactly right. We do ground game. We've knocked on over 2 million doors on behalf of the governor. We're on the verge of finishing our third pass of door knocking in Iowa of
Wow.
the likely folks going to the caucus. No other campaign has ever done this before, much less a PAC.
Is that
No one's
old-fashioned
doing it
now,
now.
though? Is that
Well,
still
hey,
neat?
look,
Right.
you've covered me a long time.
Yeah.
I was a conservative who won in Fairfax. I was covered by the Endangered Species Act. And for for viewers who don't know, that's a liberal part of Virginia.
It's like being a conservative Republican in Beverly Hills, California.
brutal,
Serious. Like,
brutal. And without some of the foof going
Right.
on. We have
Without
bigger
the palm
we have bigger
trees.
dogs. But that was door knocking kept me alive.
Yeah.
And I'm a believer. I believe that nothing moves votes more than one person talking to another. And we've been committed to this since before the governor got in the race. We
that's
were
right.
talking to folks of, hey, if he gets in, we'd love your support. And here are the great things he's done. And that's a long list.
Yeah.
He's literally the most accomplished conservative chief executive of our lifetimes.
You've
Bar
also
none.
Never Back Down also has a very strong media presence. You've got
Yes.
a lot of electronic ads, a lot of social media. I would argue that Never Back Down is probably more forceful in his message in terms of why Trump isn't the right choice than even Governor DeSantis has been. You guys have made the case that Trump's not the man this time around.
Well, and
Does
of course,
the governor need to do that more?
well,
like
he
tonight?
does. He does. I mean, for instance, on debt, on COVID. I mean, he does it on issues.
Hmm.
He doesn't engage in the kind of personal belittling that the president does, but he does hit him on these issues where he's been wrong or incomplete. He hasn't finished jobs like building the wall
Yeah.
and getting Mexico to pay for it. I mean, the president has all but said, "Oh, I was just kidding about that." Just like prosecuting Hillary, I was just kidding about that. And I'm going to balance the budget. I was just kidding about that.
You see what I mean? See, they're
and-
very strong on this
And-
stuff. Never Back
but it's
Down
also
is-
very clear, and they're also issues. You know, this isn't.
there are issues Republicans care about.
You know, but it's not the name calling the president does, and it isn't about loyalty or disloyalty. Loyalty is a one-way street with the president, and I like the president. I worked for
You
him.
worked
Was
for
proud
him.
to work for
You
him.
were a proud
I don't
warrior.
dislike him. I'm not anti-Trump. But Ron DeSantis is head and shoulders above any potential president that we could put forward for 2025.
Would you agree that Israel is going to be a top issue discussed tonight?
Absolutely. If it isn't, it'd be irresponsibility on the part of the moderator.
Is this a blind spot for Governor DeSantis in terms of national security? He doesn't have the resume that maybe Nikki Haley has.
No, he has a better resume. He's the only veteran. He's been in a combat zone in the Middle East. He's also dealt with terrorists at Guantanamo Bay. He knows this population, and he's been on the line, putting himself on the line, serving us alongside SEALs in Iraq. So I would suggest that he has experience that others simply don't, especially when you combine it with the Biden kind of turning over the military to be for abortion tourism, for the DIE program, their whole diversity, equity, and losing the warfighting ability, which is what DeSantis has hammered hard on. And again, he's the only veteran in the field. That's a big deal in states like New Hampshire and South Carolina, which have very substantial veteran populations. And it's something Americans across the country respect.
Yeah. The results in Virginia, I know you know Virginia very well, coming from there. The results in Virginia yesterday and in Ohio and other states, you know, the conventional wisdom in D.C. is that abortion, family values, it's the third rail, it's going to hurt Republicans. Does that give the governor, if anything, the governor's policies in Florida were to the right of what Glenn Youngkin and the Republicans of Virginia were proposing?
Absolutely. And he won in the biggest swing state in America by 19 points while defending those positions and going on the attack, something we just didn't see enough of. You know, the best defense is a good offense. He did that in his 22 campaign. He's prepared to do that. You know, President Trump's been attacking pro-lifers since this summer, attacking Governor Reynolds, who just endorsed Governor DeSantis, a big Iowa endorsement this week. She and Governor DeSantis have signed heartbeat bills in their states. He also signed a pain-capable bill.
Yeah.
Those are going to be very controversial in the general election, but he defended those. He didn't sneak up on Florida and do that.
I wouldn't characterize what President Trump did was an attack on pro-lifers, but what he did say was Republicans who are going to 6 weeks, let's
These
say,
heartbeat bills are terrible.
Right.
He
Well,
said terrible.
politically
Larry.
terrible. What he was saying
He didn't
was
say politically. He said terrible.
Some people would say that he was sort of predicting what would happen in Virginia and Ohio, which was, listen, if you go this far this fast, then it's going to be a political loser.
Let's look at one of his predictions. He predicted on Saturday that Cameron was going to win because of Trump's support. And today
In
he
Kentucky,
threw Cameron. And today he threw Cameron under the bus and said he was a Mitch McConnell stooge. That was a 4-day turnaround. So, the president's predictions are whatever serves President Trump's interests. Again, loyalty is a one-way street. America first is really him first. That's how he views it. That is not how Ron DeSantis views it. He is not about himself. He's about us. And his policies have reflected that. And frankly, he stood in front of the Trump train when Fauci was given free rein by Trump. And Trump was attacking DeSantis along with the media and all the so-called experts. You and I talked a lot about this at the time.
Yes.
And DeSantis stood up to all of it. And the polling didn't suggest that was a good idea.
Yeah.
He just knew it was the right thing to do.
Fact check true on that. Absolutely. One thing I've really liked about Ron DeSantis in the debate so far is that he's gone after the moderators when the moderators have been on a line.
He may get that chance tonight.
Well, I was going to say those were Fox News and Fox Business Channel moderators. Now you've got first of all, be good to our pal Hugh Hewitt. Tell him not to. Don't go after Hugh.
It's Hugh Hewitt and 2 general election moderators, and we can thank the RNC for that.
Well, I'd love you to. The RNC. You've worked with the RNC in the past. What's that all about?
Well, honestly, I think what you're seeing is a skewing of this whole process to help Trump. I don't think.
Well, how do you think it helps Trump to have the debate tonight on NBC?
So, what helps Trump here is the 2 liberal moderators, and you.
So they'll be speaking out. They're in the tank for Trump.
They're going to do the Democrat attacking, and Trump's not here.
Oh, so in other words, Trump stays above the fray.
Outside the fray. I won't say above the fray. But but you can frame it diplomatically.
No,
I don't have to. It's that hard hitting thing you mentioned at the beginning. So president can take it, but it's true, and that's problematic. I question the RNC bent the rules here today to get Tim Scott on the stage. They reached back to polls back in September. It's honestly who doesn't like Tim Scott personally, but he didn't make the threshold, and they put him up here anyway. And the president wants as many opponents as he can get, because if this is a one-on-one contest, it's a completely different race.
Let me ask you, in terms of national security, as we mentioned, Israel.
Yes.
What's fascinating to me, if you think about it, every other issue they may talk about tonight, from border security to the energy independence to the economy, it all relates back to national security.
Absolutely.
And I think that Governor DeSantis is very good at tying all those things together. I think he's been best on the border issue.
He gets the big picture, and I agree with you. He does tie those things together. So when if you let him riff, if you will, when he talks about the terrorist attack on Israel, because that's what it was. It was a terrorist attack organized by a government.
Not if you ask the leading voices of the Democratic Party.
That's exactly
though.
right.
Yeah.
And that distinction is very important, and they're tied up in knots on their side. There's moral clarity from Ron DeSantis, but he will also point out how this affects our domestic policy.
Yeah.
Who do we let in this country just to visit, to get student visas, to be refugees? This is a continuing debate. And Nikki Haley is kind of ducked. No, I didn't want these refugees. Well, she did when she was governor of South Carolina. She was working with the Obama administration to get Syrian refugees in. And she immediately after the attacks by Hamas looked open to that in Gaza until Ron DeSantis absolutely put his foot down, as he does on all issues. And she backtracked, just as she has on some other issues.
I am quite sure there will be a question from the moderators with regard to President Trump's legal troubles, and it will probably be framed as such. If President Trump is convicted, should he be disqualified from the nomination? What should the candidate's answer be to that?
So the candidate obviously is going to have to decide that, but the rules don't provide for that. At that point, it'll literally have to be delegates who are going to be at the convention who decide if that matters enough to change their course.
So a floor fight, basically.
But only for a few states. That's not even allowed for most states. So, but it is allowed in a select small number of states, and the real goal here for Ron DeSantis's campaign is obviously to make that irrelevant by catching the president, passing the president. And Kim Reynolds' endorsement in Iowa this week was huge in getting there. She is beloved in Iowa, well known. The national media intentionally didn't cover it, even though it's the biggest endorsement between now and January 15th, because they want Trump moving forward.
It was also big news because it was, sorry, I didn't mean to step on that line. It got in, I promise. It was also big news because she had promised not to endorse anybody. Basically.
Well,
I remember she said she was going to stay.
She didn't promise that, but that's the Iowa history. And she had said, I respect that history. And what she has said this week is, look, I
didn't mean that as a criticism of the governor. I think it's just obviously
but there's a
she was
difference
compelled
between
to
breaking
do
a commitment
and
breaking with tradition.
Honoring the past.
And she is breaking with tradition. She and Ron DeSantis are politically extremely close. They match up very close. We already talked about the heartbeat bill, but tax cutting, restraint on the fiscal front. Ron DeSantis has cut Florida's debt 25%. Wouldn't that be nice at the federal level? Oh my gosh, we'd actually start working our way towards solvent again. But they're very close in that way. And she is, due to her accomplishments and frankly, her warmth and her leadership, she is beloved in Iowa. It's going to go a long way.
Sounds like she'd be a good running mate if Governor DeSantis gets the nomination.
I don't think that'd be out of the question. I mean, one thing he's said is, look, I'm not playing these running mate games. I'm going to have somebody who's similar to me politically. Yeah. So you get a package. And she's at least in that box. I know nothing about that. We can both speculate about that. But the reality is it doesn't matter unless he increases his position, starts to win. And we think Governor Reynolds is going to be a big part of the ground game. The governor's already gotten to, I want to say 88 of the 99 counties in Iowa. He will be the only candidate in Iowa to get to every county in Iowa. They call it the full Grassley. We can guess why. And that is appreciated in the smaller counties out there that are never going to see any other candidates live. They're going to go and vote and talk with their neighbors, and they're going to be able to say, well, Fred,
that stuff matters in Iowa.
I talked to Ron, and he said A, B, or C, and it's going to be live and in person. Yeah. And that kind of ground effort and work ethic goes a long way. And you compare that to 8 appearances by President Trump since September in Iowa versus about 60 counties for Ron DeSantis. It's no comparison on the work ethic.
Ken Cuccinelli never back down, and he doesn't, as you can tell. Thanks, man. Have a good time tonight.
I will. You too.
Take care.
This is great for you meeting again.
Thank you.
So
we're
having the shoes award. Definitely get the shoes.
Very proud of my shoes. We'll tweet out a picture of the shoes so you can all see it. That is Ken Cuccinelli. And the Never Back Down Super PAC has been incredibly effective, I think, in terms of doing, well, I mean, you probably read between the lines, doing a lot of the dirty work for the DeSantis campaign. They're running a lot of the really, really tough and pointed ads, and Governor DeSantis can sort of stay above that fray. And of course, legally, the super PACs can't really directly coordinate or even indirectly coordinate with the campaigns. That would be against the law. So Ken Cuccinelli leads the charge, and the campaign does their own thing. That's how that works. All right, where are we here? Let me just check on. Oh, we're good. Jennifer Van Laar is the managing editor for Red State, and she's going to join us now. Let's make sure you get a microphone, though, Jennifer Van Laar. You need a mic. You got to get a mic for Jen. There it is. Jennifer Van Laar, as you know, runs the show over at the mighty Red State, and she joins us now all the way from California.
That's right.
Here in Florida. Also, I shouldn't even ask you how you like the weather, because it's basically the same, but a little stickier.
A little?
Yeah, I know. It's
a lot stickier.
What is the deal?
I don't like the weather.
Californians hate coming to Florida.
When it's 75 degrees at 8 a.m., I'm out.
All right. So from your perspective, well, first of all, how's Red State covering the debate tonight?
We are doing a live blog.
Great.
And we have such great commenters, so many of our VIP members that go onto the live blog, and they actually inform us about the candidates.
Yeah.
It's pretty awesome.
Oh, I know. We learn from our commenters all the time. And especially the VIP members.
Yes.
So you're a valuable contributor, I assure you, to our state, especially at Red State, because it's such a free flow back and forth between your writers, contributors, and the commenters.
Oh, yeah. And they told us about Doug Burgum. You remember at the first debate, how Burgum, none of us had really heard of him. And we had some people in North Dakota that shared good and bad of what they thought of
Yes,
Governor Burgum.
I'm sure. We've obviously been talking about Israel a lot since this is the first debate since then. Well, you've been covering that horrific murder of that
Yes.
the Jewish man who was murdered for carrying the Israeli flag on a sidewalk. By the way, what's the latest on that story? The identity of the assailant?
Yeah, the assailant, we believe we've identified as a local community college professor who's from the Middle East and who teaches computer science and heads up the Muslim Student Association, and who has been involved in some Free Palestine, Stop the Genocide, Stop the Occupation type of things. So he crossed the street. I have some pictures up at Red State showing the man holding the megaphone, crossing the street specifically to go to Paul Kessler and to goad him. And he didn't even, from what I can tell, Kessler wasn't the aggressor. This guy got in his face and then hit him with that megaphone.
And then he fell. And
yep.
So tonight is an opportunity for the Republican candidates to really point out the fact that this comes, 5 days after the Biden-Harris administration put out a new commission on Islamophobia and anti-Muslim hate.
That.
Right? I mean, this is such a golden opportunity. I recognize that this is a debate so Republican voters can choose our candidate, but this is also an opportunity on network news on NBC to get this message out to viewers who might not be Republican and say there's a big difference here.
I mean, Paul Kessler was a registered Democrat. He was known in Ventura County for writing all the lefty letters to the editor. You know, you always have the one person in a little community. That was Paul Kessler.
By the way, that's Bernie Sanders in Vermont. He just ended up a senator.
Exactly. So the guy that was killed then by people who shared his lefty ideology.
Probably voted Democrat.
He did. He was a registered Democrat. But there's so many Democrats these days that are Jewish that are looking for someone who's going to stand up for them.
Yeah.
And that's not happening on the Democrat side.
Who do you think? I mean, again, conventional wisdom is Nikki Haley benefits from Israel being such a top topic. But I don't know. See, I think this is always about expectations. So people are expecting Nikki Haley to be able to deliver. I think there's an opportunity for one of the other candidates to really make some noise.
DeSantis definitely has knowledge from all of his combat service in that area of the world to be able to have some good things to say.
A guy who was actually deployed to help the effort to kill terrorists is probably in a good position to talk about it.
In a different way, Tim Scott, he's been in a community that gets a lot of hate and bigotry. And so he can maybe identify with some of those people that don't feel like the Democrat Party represents them.
That's a good point too. Now, have you been monitoring the comments at Red State today with regard to our debate coverage?
I have not.
Okay.
Because I've been working on the Kessler story.
My guess is that a lot of it is, who cares? Trump's not there. None of this matters, right? Well, this does matter, even if the eventual nominee isn't on stage. This is an important debate, isn't it?
Well, because eventually we have to have another leader. None of us are eternal and immortal yet. So eventually we're going to need more leaders within the Republican Party. And some people are on the younger side. If you 50 or so is kind of young within the Republican Party, maybe.
I think 50 is young anywhere in this country, Jennifer.
And DeSantis isn't even there yet.
The other thing I think that's interesting, though, is listen, President Trump is a force of nature, and he's his own thing, and you can't put him in any category. But I don't think I'm breaking new ground by saying that basic, fundamental conservative principles and Republican positions aren't always best communicated by Mr. Trump. He's got his own vernacular. He's got his own way of doing things. But if we're trying to advance our ideas, the men and women on this stage tonight, they're pretty good at it.
They are. And Trump has his way, like you said, of explaining his positions. But these people have to find a different way to express them, because clearly what they've been doing so far has not been resonating, hasn't diminished Trump's support at all. So they've got to break out of the mold. So maybe Vivek, I can never say his name right.
Vivek.
His latest tactic to be unhinged. That's the word. that might be a good thing.
He's just letting loose.
But what's different than the other? How's that? Is he going to attack Nikki Haley harder?
Yeah, I don't know.
Or Chris Christie?
Is it true that Chris Christie's team, looking at the success Donald Trump has had since he's been indicted, that Christie's going to go knock off a 7-Eleven so that he can get indicted? I mean, having a criminal record might actually be a benefit.
Maybe that's what he was plotting at the pool at our hotel today.
Wait, what? Hold on. Are there pictures of this? Chris Christie was at the pool?
Yeah.
What was he wearing, dare I ask?
A t-shirt and shorts.
Have you published this picture?
I have not.
Do we want to show it now?
I don't. You have to zoom in a lot because I didn't want to be a
Wait,
weird
is this a one?
paparazzi.
Is this a one-party consent? Oh no, he's out in the public. You can
Yeah,
take his picture.
I didn't want to be paparazzi, so I just kind of took it from far
You
away.
didn't
You
have
have
the
to
zoom
zoom
lens?
in. You have to zoom in to see
I
it.
don't know. We're trying to attract viewers tonight. Do we want to show the Chris Christie at the swimming pool
You
in
can't
Miami
really see
before the
much
debate?
of much. But
All right,
yeah,
all right.
you
Go
will
ahead.
see
I'll
the-
hold your mic as you get the picture up.
Oh my
We're gonna
gosh.
do this.
Oh boy, here we go.
Absolutely, we are. Who doesn't want to? This is what Chris Christie was doing for debate prep. This is incredibly important for people to know.
All right,
Only
here it is.
Red State gets this kind of journalism.
I'm always working.
Chris Christie's debate prep.
Can you see it?
Oh, there he is. All right, go ahead and walk it up to the lens there.
Gosh.
Are we getting focus? Oh, no, you got to zoom it back. Oh, it's too blurry. There you go. That's a little bit. See that? Well, hold on. I'll help you out.
You do it.
All right. So there's the palm trees, and there's the little umbrellas. See that big dark
It's not
blob?
working.
That
I don't
big
think it's
dark blob
working.
is Chris Christie.
You can see it, right?
That's his debate prep. He's going to be awesome.
Or is he?
tonight.
Or is he prepping to knock off a 7-Eleven?
You know, it could be.
Stay tuned.
Or a donut shop.
Oh, do that.
Thank you, Jennifer. Thanks for joining us. Jennifer
you.
Vandlar, the mighty Red State. You know, we do journalism a little different. That's all. But it's fun, isn't it? All right. So we are now T-minus 1 hour and 10 minutes away from the debate beginning. And I want to remind you of our coverage, not just this pre-debate live event and very free-flowing event right in front of the Adrian Arch Performing Arts Center, but also we'll be giving you live blogging across our sites from backstage. So we can give you not just our reaction to what you're watching, but also we'll give you a little peek into what the media is doing during the debate too, because we'll be the turd in the punch bowl. That's who we'll be. We'll be the uninvited. You remember that scene from Caddyshack when all the caddies get the 1 hour to swim in the swimming pool? That's who we are tonight. They're going to let town hall media sort of infiltrate the country club of the mainstream media backstage at the debate, and we'll try not to leave a Baby Ruth floating at the top of the water. That made sense, didn't it? Did you get that analogy? Then after the debate, we're going to be in the spin room. Katie Pavlich, our own Katie Pavlich from Town Hall, is going to be backstage in the spin room, with some video interviews with all the candidates post-debate, and then we'll be roving with a live stream right here where you're watching us right now. Whatever platform you're on, we'll be live streaming from inside the spin room, and we'll be wandering all around so you can see all of the various surrogates for all of the various candidates, all claiming that their guy won, which is always hilarious because they couldn't have all won, right? Of course not. Maybe they all lost. So that's coming up after the debate, and that'll start probably around 10 p.m. All right, let's see some more comments here, if we could. What's on your minds here? Let's see. Patrick Pellegrino says that Christie needs to focus on his health. He is a little girthy, but you know what? We've had very large presidents before. Just because you're a little overweight doesn't mean you can't be president. By the way, let me just say this. I'm going to go on the record. This may be controversial. I would rather a morbidly obese Republican president to a decrepit skeleton-like Joe Biden. Is that fair? I would rather have a conservative Republican president who is motoring themselves around the White House like one of those really fat people in WALL-E. Remember in WALL-E when you were all up in the spaceship and they were just eating and flopping around? Yeah, I'm okay with that compared to Joe Biden. All right. What else have we got here? You guys are all commenting to each other. Let's see. Tommy says, I want pastrami. Okay, Tommy. No, Tommy. I think you found the wrong video. Anna Townsend is going to be watching Trump live. Oh, but you're going to watch us too. See, that's the beauty of the internet. This is what I want you all to do. If you do decide that you want to watch the Trump rally, go ahead and put that on whatever network. I think Salem News Channel actually is going to be streaming that. So you can watch the rally on Salem News Channel, but then keep our live blog and our live streams up on your browsers or on your device or whatever it is you're doing, right? All right. What else have we got? Oh, I think that we're done. Most of your comments are deeply concerning, but that's why we love you. Yeah. All right. Unless there's some other comments I'm missing. No, we're good. All right. We're going to wrap things up here for our live coverage here right in front of the debate hall. Don't forget, we're just a little over an hour away from the actual debate occurring. Turn on your local Salem radio station so you can hear our presentation of it, and then watch the Trump rally if you want, and keep all of the town hall media sites up and streaming on your browser or your device, so you can be clued in to everything that we're doing and saying and analyzing. And I assure you, news is going to be made tonight, regardless. There's going to be news happening right here in just an hour behind me. And we got you covered, as we always do, across all the town hall sites. Thank you again to Electronic Payments Coalition for sponsoring our presentation tonight. And we will see you next time. I'm Larry O'Connor. You just call me Larry. Thanks for watching.